This is Cam Jennings coming at you on behalf of EpicConversions.com, and today I want to talk to you about the case against listening to new bits of information. Sounds weird, right? Wouldn't you want to keep up to date on the most current information? Well, I would say yes and no, because there's a couple things going on here. First of all, let's think about this for a second. Just in the scope of, let's just take a podcast. Let's take Thoughts on the Walk here, for example. If a new episode comes out pretty much every single day, okay, then you're always going to be listening to something new if you're a super fan of this show. Alright, that's fine. Now put a pin in that and put it off to the side. You're always going to have something new to listen to every single day. Now, what if we take this other fact, and that fact is that repeated consumption produces deeper understanding. Repeated consumption produces deeper understanding. So that means if you read a book and you get something out of it, there's a very good chance that if you read that book again, you're going to get more out of it. Read that book a third time, you're going to get even more out of it. And you got to ask yourself, and this is scientifically proven, but you got to ask yourself, if I read an entire book, it's 200 or 300 pages long, what amount do I retain? I can tell you guys, me personally, if I read a 200 or 300 page book, I might retain a basic idea about what the book's about. A basic idea about what the book's about, and maybe a few specific points. But you know, like, my basic idea about this book and my few specific points could probably be fit on a page or two. Well, it's a 200 page book, so obviously I didn't retain everything there is to be retained there. I mean, think about how people handle the Bible, you know? People just study and read the Bible their entire lives, you know, over and over and over again. You could say the same for any religion's, you know, book, holy book, the Quran, whatever. You could make that case with these holy books. You know, people just study them and read them over and over and over again. Why? To produce a deeper level of understanding. So to me, like, when it comes to any kind of content, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an audiobook, whether it's a special report or a book or a video training, whatever kind of content it is, like, repeated consumption is going to produce deeper understanding, right? And that's just the truth. I mean, it's scientifically proven. You guys don't have to take my word for it. You can go look it up. So the problem is, if people are always putting out fresh content every day for you to consume, and you've kind of gotten into this habit of always consuming your fresh content every day, like you would in a podcast scenario, well, when does that leave you time to go back and consume things you've already consumed? When does that leave time for repetition? Because, as I've said already, you know, repeated consumption brings about a deeper understanding. Now, the fact is, there's so much new content being produced every single day out there that a lot of people, they just consume something and move on to the next thing. So when we talk about making a case for not consuming the newest stuff all the time, or not consuming fresh content, I'm not saying you should never consume fresh content, but what I'm saying is your schedule for content consumption should not be the same as what is happening around you. Just because someone's putting out a podcast every day, that doesn't mean you need to consume that podcast when it's new. Now maybe there's some instances where consuming the freshest content's important. Like these new email practices that were just put into place not long ago. Yeah, it's important to get the most up-to-date information on that. But when it comes to a subject like copywriting, or it comes to a subject like marketing, there's principles that have been around forever, for hundreds of years. And you don't need to consume the freshest piece of information. What you really need to do with that kind of stuff is, get a deeper understanding for what's happening as far as like the information you consume. Like that I've got this audiobook called Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. And like I've consumed that audiobook many times. I was listening to Ben Settle's podcast a couple months ago, and I remember him saying on that podcast that he doesn't even feel like he's gotten a decent understanding of something unless he's consumed it like 10 times. I think that's what he said. 10 times, man. Consuming something 10 times to get an actual understanding of it. And that resonated with me because I know that when I consume information repeatedly, I will get more out of it. A couple years ago, I had acquired, I might have talked to you guys about this before, but I had acquired a collection of Sean Mai's audio calls. And man, I love those calls. They're so good. I acquired PLR rights on them and I put them in my membership club. But I was listening to them too. I thought they were fantastic. So any of you guys out there who are in my club know what I'm talking about. But unless if you were around back then, that was a couple years ago. But anyways, the point is, I remember listening to them, over and over again. I take these walks at the park, and I would just listen to them over and over again. They gave me so many good ideas. But again, those ideas came with repeated listening. So many things can happen when you're trying to consume information, People might be talking to you. You might get distracted if you're walking. You might get distracted by some thought. You might be hungry, so you're not paying attention as much. Whatever, there's so many things that could happen when you're listening to something or watching something or reading something. Have you ever been like watching a video training or something and you started getting hungry while you were on the call and you were just like, but you only had like a few minutes left or whatever, or maybe there's 10 videos and you're on like video 8 and you just want to like finish this thing so you can mark it off your list or whatever. So, those last couple videos, what are you doing? You're thinking about it. You're thinking about what's being said, but you're also kind of thinking about being done with it and moving on with your day. You just want to be done with it, right? So you're a little bit distracted just because you're ready to move on, but you're trying to finish what's in front of you. That's not the same like mindset that you have when you started it and you're all 100% in for the learning. And it's not the same mindset you'd have if you were consuming that information again a second time or a third time, just, to take notes or just for a refresher. It's all different mindsets. So your mindset's gonna also like affect, what you retain and how you process the information. So anyways, just some thoughts today, making a case for, instead of always consuming the fresh piece of content, maybe think about going back and look at some of the content you've already purchased and kind of, rereading it, re-consuming it, re-watching it, re-listening to it. My favorite thing to do this with is audio trainings, by the way. I love audio trainings, man. They're such a passive learning experience. You can do other things while you're listening to it. But I will listen to the audio trainings several times, just because I'll get something out of them each time, deeper understanding. So anyways, that's all I got. Hope that's helpful. And if this conversation has resonated with you at all, be sure to get over to epicconversions.com, join my free newsletter. I email out 3 to 6 times a week. I like to think I put my best free content out by email. That's all I got. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.